And a very good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Sean.
This is Alex.
And you're listening to another episode of
Coaster Kings Radio.
And today's episode is all about two theme parks in Europe, or two theme park resorts, I should say. We recently went to Madrid, and then a few days later went to Paris. And so we're going to be talking a little bit about our visits to Parque Warner Madrid and Disneyland Paris resorts in this particular episode. Kind of funny because we really rounded up or finished the fall/Halloween season at Parque Warner. We went there on their last Halloween day. They were open until midnight. We didn't get the chance to go on one of their Scary Night events this year. Last year we went to Scary Nights and they were open from midnight to 5 a.m. and then you can enter early at 10 p.m. during regular hours.
So awesome.
That was absolutely phenomenal. And then we rode all the stuff all night long in the rain. It was wild, but this time was still a good time because we went on the day after Halloween. They were open till midnight, which was still great because it got dark pretty early. And so we got a good amount of daytime rides in before it started getting busy. And then we rode everything we wanted to ride a couple times. And then we rode Stunfall in the dark a couple times. So it was a good time. So yeah, we'll just talk about that a little bit. And then we always try to start our holiday season at Disneyland Paris. So we usually try to go in November, right as they start up all their holiday event stuff, and they had little Christmas markets and all the decorations, and we do glühwein and all that. So we started our holiday season officially just a few days later at Disneyland Paris. So yeah, let's start in Madrid. Both of us were there for work layovers. We met in the city and then went to Parque Warner, which was a holiday, which I didn't quite realize. It was All Saints Day.
Well, it's the Day of the Dead, too.
So
November 1st.
For some reason, I didn't realize that they celebrated there. I thought it was more of a Mexican thing.
I thought it was Mexico, just Mexico, too.
More of a Mexican thing. But anyway, so it was a bank holiday, so it was a little busy at the park than we had initially expected, but it really wasn't that crazy. So
we did okay.
We showed up there.
We went straight to...
What time did we show up there? 2 or 3?
I think we showed up at around 3:30.
Yeah.
We had to run some errands first, and then we went. We got really lucky. I feel like not only is Stuntfall one of our favorite coasters in the world, truly, but I feel like it's also we just get really lucky with that ride because every time we go to Parque Warner,
it's open.
It's open, and we get several really good rides on it without ever having to wait in line. And sometimes the line for it can get pretty bad, just because it's one train. But we showed up and the ride had just come up from breaking down. So we just got right in line, got a front row ride. Great way to start off the evening. And then did we ride it a second time right there? We did.
Right
That's
away,
right, we did.
And then we rode it.
Actually, the first ride we got.
Oh, first ride was row 4 or something.
Because we were just filling a seat. And then the second ride we got front row.
Yeah, that's right.
And so that was great.
And then we went
from there.
We just did a loop around the park.
We did the semicircle, the coaster semicircle. We didn't do the kiddie area.
Yeah, it was weird. This is the first time we didn't actually go into the entirety of the park, which is weird because I wouldn't have mind riding Caminos Beep Beep, but it was just
the line for it was crazy.
That's kind of long, and so
it was an hour.
So we actually then went to Superman because Superman L'Attraction d'Acero is our favorite floorless coaster, and it was running phenomenal as usual.
Yeah.
It was running 2 trains, which was nice to see.
2 trains, no wait.
Operations were actually pretty decent. We had to wait, and we had to wait. The first time we didn't have to wait, but later in the day we had to wait.
It was a longer
good
line.
30 minutes, but a good 30 minutes. It's long, but so that was good. And then we moved on to Arkham Asylum, which was also running 2 trains, and that actually took a good minute to get on. Shadows of
Arkham.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had it. It was still a pretty short wait.
So this is a B&M invert that is just the usual Batman clone, but this one does run particularly well. And this one is themed to, well, as the name implies, Arkham Asylum. And they did that because they already, when they built this park, it was kind of like a hybrid between the Six Flags park and the movie park, the movie world concepts from Warner Brothers. So they already had a giant simulator ride, kind of like Star Tours, that was themed to Batman with the Batcave and Bruce Manor. So that whole theme wasn't going to work for the roller coaster. So instead, the roller coaster seemed to be off on the estate, being the Arkham Asylum. And a couple years ago, they revitalized the whole queue, and they also used it as a maze during Halloween. And then you end up riding the ride. You can either choose to leave the maze at the end or to ride the ride, which is kind of cool. Anyway, so the whole queue, which doesn't really fill up that much because they build way more queue space than they ever needed. Now it's just a really cool walkthrough before you get to where the queue kind of ends up being, which is just the last maybe switchback or two and staircase.
I love it.
So that's really cool.
And like you said, it runs. It's a particularly nice Batman clone. It's a 7-car train installation. It runs, I think, really well. I think it's one of the better Batman clones. It might even be my favorite.
I find that it's one of the later installations because, of course, this park opened a good, 10 years after the original Batman. So
yeah. But yeah, great ride. That's really the only Batman clone that we ride consistently. Because even when we're at a park that has a Batman clone, it's usually pretty low on the priorities list. Like, if we're at Magic Mountain, that's usually a skip because we don't have enough time on a given day at Magic Mountain to do everything we want to do. And and we can always rely on getting our Batman fix in Spain on our annual. This is our 3rd year in a row going to Parque Warner Madrid. I think that's going to be our annual October thing, just like how we do our November annual Disneyland Paris. Which I love having traditions like this. These are our family tradition. It's unconventional, but it's ours.
It's
and
cute.
It makes me really excited for this time of year.
I will say this was November 1st, and this is like one of the busy Novembers because then we spent 4 days.
I guess it was technically. Yeah, it was November 1st.
Because then we spent 4 days at Disneyland Paris. We'll talk about it in a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, 3 because I got sick, but that's a whole other story. And then in a couple days, if everything goes as planned, by the time you've listened to this, we should have already gone to both Efteling and Winter Wonderland, all in November. So this is by far the most active November we've ever had.
4 theme park events, 4 countries.
And not even counting all the parks to go to in Orlando and our
And then our Orlando Park days, as usual. We came home from Paris last week, and we've been just enjoying our time at home, just chilling out. The weather's been gorgeous. We're wearing sweatshirts. The windows are open. It's 60 degrees. We've got tea. We've got our socks on. It's a vibe. We're vibing. But anyways, back to Parque Warner. After Shadows of Arkham, we, of course, continued along the park's just fabulous DC Comics area, stretching from Metropolis to Gotham City, and then through Gotham City, through the Gotham City Carnival, into the Wayne Manor facade. And we rode, the wonderful Batman Escape. Gotham City Escape.
We're so good with names
Batman
today, guys.
Gotham City Escape.
Like, we know what we're talking about.
Because, Shadows of Arkham, they had to change the name, too. Not only did the ride have to have its own theme when they built the park, because the motion simulator took the Batcave theme, but, when they added Gotham City Escape, that was going to be the Batman coaster, and so Batman La Fuga, Batman the Escape, had to be renamed Shadows of Arkham, which I think is an even better, badass name. So we rode our amazing Gotham City Escape, one of the best coasters in the world. It's crazy for one park to have this many awesome roller coasters.
People don't talk about this enough, and I can understand the criticisms that the people have for the park. The polish level could be a little bit better. It's not bad. They've improved a lot, but
it reminds me a lot of Magic Mountain.
It could be a little bit better. And then, of course, something like the Dark Ride Collection is that great. Overall, there's room for improvement, but I will say that the employees have always been very nice, and the ride collection, like Alex is indicating here, is just very, very strong when it comes to the roller coaster collection. A giant for the Boomerang is a giant for the Boomerang. We love that. And then you have a B&M Floorless coaster that is, I think, universally kind of agreed upon to be the best one. It doesn't have a mid-course brake run.
It's so giant and no mid-course.
Good pacing. It's out there in the desert. It's really kind of cool. You think, there's no landscape there, but it's hard to describe. But it's the views
beautiful.
are incredible.
The night rides are super cool.
And then you have Batman Gotham City Escape, which too is it's like Velocicoaster level spectacular, and I prefer it over Velocicoaster. I think Alex does too.
It's really close. I would say that my Velocicoaster rides have been trending up lately, and Gotham City Escape is not trending down, but it's definitely it's been a year now. Our first rides on it, the ride was brand spanking new. Now it's open
in June of last year,
and it's it's got a little bit of that rattle that
but that's not Velocicoaster hasn't gotten mad.
Right, but I'm saying now, the rides I feel are a bit more closer together in terms of how they run, Whereas like that first year with Velocicoaster too, that first year they were just like smooth as glass. But yeah, it's really hard for me to choose a favorite between the two because they are for two rides that are so similar on paper, they're really quite very different. In practice. Very different executions, but they have a lot in common. I think the queue experience for both of the rides are actually very similar because they can be very tedious if you catch the ride at like a 60-minute wait, which is common, but as you get closer to the ride and as you start to do like the themed elements, like once you're inside of Bruce Wayne's house,
that's
it's amazing.
Full pre-show, and then like get the emergency into the Batcave, and then into the metro. I mean, I think the overall experience, and then having the onboard audio on Batman, and having the animatronics on the ride.
Yeah,
I think that all things considered, I still think, and they have that part where like you shoot up that tower and then you go backwards.
It's also a full circuit shuttle coaster. Like it has an extremely underrated.
And those vehicles are small in the way that
and
the
they
ride
have
experience
stadium
is very
seating.
different.
Yeah,
I don't know.
V-shaped seating.
I still prefer Batman, but that's not the point. The point here is that. They have such an incredible ride lineup because of those three coasters, I think. I mean, the other coasters...
And then a really solid B-team of Batman the Ride and Coaster Express.
No hate for Coaster Express on this podcast, because...
Coaster Express is in her icon era.
This is like our 4th or 5th visit riding her, and that sounds so nasty. Okay, this is like... Does that sound weird?
It doesn't sound weird. It's just weird because we're mostly gay. Like
okay. Anyway, so we've been on Coaster Express several times, and I always want to ride it because I think it is criminally underrated. But we'll get to Coaster Express in just a second. We're still on Batman, right? What do we want to talk about Batman? Well, we want to talk about Batman, the fact that...
we had a weird experience.
We had a weird experience.
So actually, last time, when we were there for the Halloween event with Andrew, we were assigned the front row, which was exciting because we've never had a front row ride. But they had a hard time clearing us. Like, the restraints were not clearing.
Well, one of them wasn't.
And, one of them was not. And the ride operator saw you and was like, how tall are you? Like, we realized that because Sean is technically...
I'm at the limit.
It's too close for comfort.
Maybe like a centimeter below it or
we're actually fine with getting a backseat ride on this ride every time because the anonymity of us hiding behind...
I mean, again, I should be fine riding it. Like, I've never not ridden it.
Yeah.
But the guy was just kind of like antagonized me a little bit. But anyway.
But this was... So then we had another... This time we rode... And the back right seat just, like, would not clear. And, like, we rotated. We took our sweaters off. The back right seat was not clearing. And the staff were like, sorry, you can't ride. But then I begged them. I was like, can we try a different seat? Like, can we sit in a row that is not this row with this seat? Because Sean and I are pretty much the same proportions.
Also, we've ridden this ride a million times.
And we've ridden it plenty of times.
We've never been denied a Intamin of these train types.
And we're both the exact same weight and body shape and size that we've been for, like, years. So they sent the train out, and then another train, and then we sat in the same row, and it was totally fine.
But the experience was a little bit awkward. Because
it was awkward.
This whole thing where she's like, well, we need to keep running the ride. And we're like, well, we understand, but like also this, can you not see how like you cannot clear the seat ever? Like it just doesn't clear.
Well, they kind of gaslighted us a little bit because they were telling us like you can't fit, you can't ride, blah blah blah. And then when we convinced them to let us try a different train, we cleared
immediately,
and it was very matter of fact to them.
No push or anything.
And I was sort of like, see, like this.
Yeah, but that's okay though. I mean,
I was like, you guys,
they're just doing their job.
I know, but I would have appreciated them saying like, oh, like okay, we get it, like.
Well, let's just focus on the part where they actually let us try another seat, and that was great. We got to ride, and it was still a great ride, and I had a great time.
It was a great ride.
It made me reappreciate. Is that a word? Reappreciate?
Yeah.
It made me reappreciate all of the elements that I kind of sometimes talk about, but don't actually. Like you ride a ride and you have memories of elements, but then the feeling fades, and you just talk about the element. Well, this time, you ride again, and then you have that weird little. First of all, there's a lot going on the ride, and it's just spectacular layout, and it's really nicely integrated with the park, and I don't have to run through the layout for you because I'm sure everyone listening here has seen it before. But the thing is that when you come off the top hat, it's almost like a sky rush moment. You have an airtime hill, and that airtime hill is so punchy, it is so sharp, it's so intense. And then you have your dive loop, and then when you get to the bottom of the dive loop, there's somehow a double down underground. And that element is just absolutely wild to me. I love it. And then, of course, you had that stall where, like, you do a double up S-turn into the inverted stall. You hang over that part of Gotham City, over that, a thematic bridge before you do almost like a 180 vertical twist back into the show building. And it's just a spectacular ride. And I think that anyone that is a really big coaster enthusiast that's listening to this, and people travel international for rides, Madrid should be on your list. Because first of all, there's lots to do around there. You can take an easy train to Barcelona afterwards, make it a Spain thing. But also, this particular roller coaster, along with Stuntfall and of course Superman, are just worth a visit for like a coaster enthusiast. This park is honestly better than I think coaster enthusiasts give it credit for.
Wonderful, truly. But yeah, I think it's just I think you covered everything with Batman. It's a great ride. I just hope they need to, whatever the maintenance situation is with the looseness for the dispatch threshold and getting certain lap bars to clear being such a pain while others are not. It's definitely not an experience that I have come to expect from like other Intamins. Because like with Velocicoaster, of course, it's like never an issue.
We just had this in Xi'an without it was a mech coaster.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I just feel like, especially since like on the ones where like once we rode and we were cleared, our restraints weren't even tight. Like it wasn't even that tight on us. Whereas, like, on this other train, they were like, jumping on the restraint to get us to clear, and it wouldn't clear. So, like, maintenance-wise, train upkeep-wise, like, the park needs to work on making sure that the trains are optimized properly. Just because there's no reason for there to be such a dramatic variance in seat clearances from seat to seat. But yeah, so anyways, after our great ride on Gotham City, it was like an hour wait. We decided not to wait for it a second time. A, because it's a long wait, and B, because we didn't want to we didn't want to lose the seat roulette and have another, like, dispatch clearance window issue. So we were like, let's just focus on other rides. So then we rode Coaster Express.
Coaster Express, madly underrated, because at this point, after the loss of Son of Beast and Magnos Colossos at Terra Mythica, now we're kind of down to one coaster that does this giant swooping helices and drop thing, and it is a massive coaster. People don't realize that it has these 5-car, 6-person per car giant Intamin trains that are very long. It's a very long train. And the coaster itself kind of sits out in the desert, so there's no like real comparison as in like anything next to it for scope. But it is a massive wooden roller coaster, and they have been doing such a good job maintaining it, because last year I want to make a point of riding it in the dark in Halloween, and it was so good. And we were running so well, and I was like, this is honestly starting to become like a really fun coaster for me. Doesn't rank really high, no, but I appreciate the uniqueness, because now you can't really get a weird wooden coaster experience like that anywhere else out there. And this year we rode it again, and this year we even rode it in a wheel seat, and it was still a phenomenal ride. It was such a good experience, and it was even smoother than last year. I feel like they've been doing a good job maintaining it. I will say, if you sit in the front car, it can beat you up a little bit, but any other car where you don't take the hits, I think it's a great ride.
It's brilliant. Aside from like my instinct to brace at the bottom of every drop for the bumps
helix,
and like brace constantly, the stress of anticipating some jackhammering experience is like the one thing that kind of makes the ride difficult
for you,
for me. But I think like if we ride it a second time, I mean, that's another one that gets a long line. People love this ride. The line's always like an hour or something.
Kind of reminds me of Bandit, which I mean, they've always been kind of compared to one another, but Bandit, Move Our Germany always has a line too, even though the enthusiasts don't love it.
Yeah.
The general public
But I think Coaster Express is one of those rides where I think people just haven't ridden it recently enough. And it reminds me a lot of like how wooden coasters were executed in Japan. It's a lot like how White Cyclone at Nagashima Spa Land was, in the terms of just being a big, like, swoopy, elegant coaster. There's no airtime. There's not even... It's mostly laterals and just a sense of speed and length. And if you're going into Coaster Express with expectations of what you think a wooden coaster should be, you'll probably be disappointed. But if you take the ride for what it is, which is a fast, unique, smooth experience with great laterals, then it's a really cool ride. It's really unique. I can truly say that now, as of now, there's no other roller coaster in the world that feels the way that Coaster Express feels. So
fair enough. I'd agree.
That's a win.
And again, it runs so well. And like I like a wooden coaster where like it has those Intamin T-bars, kind of like accelerator, at Knott's Berry Farm. So your knees are actually not hitting anything, which is kind of nice. Because I feel like in a wooden coaster, if it's rough, especially as a tall person, your knees are the first you just hit everything. But it's a smooth ride experience these days, and I really enjoy it. Again, it's in the front; it could be a little bit rougher just because you're hitting those turns first. But all things considered, I think it's a cute ride. And then what else we ride in the park? Well, we didn't ride anything else when it comes to a new attraction, but we went back and we rode Superman again.
We did Superman some more.
We found the cutest hoodies, by the way, for Superman. They had these like really nice Superman L'Attraction de Océan hoodies with the logo, and then like they're like a light blue with the inside fabric being red, and it's very almost like 90s vibes.
It's got the double interlocking corkscrews on it,
which is a fun element to choose. Yeah,
it's a really cool. Yeah, it's a really nice, stylish. Feels like a throwback to like something that what they would have sold when the park first opened. Or like something that like Fiesta Texas would have sold when they opened Krypton Coaster. It has that kind of vibe.
Unfortunately, there was no merch for
no Stuntfall merch.
Merch, unfortunately.
Although they've done some Coaster Dynamics stuff. You can get a nano coaster of Superman or Gotham City Escape. You can get a Gotham City Escape vehicle coaster cutout, or you can get a Parque Warner Madrid Parkscapes cutout, and that very prominently features Stuntfall
and its old
in the
color
front
scheme.
and its original color scheme.
And another thing is that they have this new merch line where every area of the park has its own like little. It's hard to describe, but like logo motif section, and then below that logo is like all the other logos, so like the rides and stuff. And Stuntfall, even though it's not like the ride logo, because I don't even know if it has an official ride logo. It's represented on there, so you can get a couple of things out there that have Stuntfall on it. But unfortunately, nothing like super Stuntfall prominent. God, I wish. I guess we should make our own. Stuntfall!
Yeah.
So we went back after Superman. We rode Stuntfall a couple times. And we got lucky because, first it broke down
again. And
right as we were waiting to the next train.
Yeah.
And so then, and then everyone left the station. Which is great news for us because it meant that if we were just waiting it out, we could just pick our route that we wanted. So they cycled it like 5 times. I will say it took a good like 30 to 40 minutes for them to reopen it. But they were just cycling it the whole time. So it's not like it really wasn't running in between. And then they reopened it, and so we rode it twice more. And we had 2 more incredible rides on it. And that was that. That was the best way to end the night.
Absolutely.
And then we actually left early because we were going to stay till midnight. But, we had to fly out in the morning back to the States. And we figured, we had such a successful run. We got there early enough to get all the rides in, and we had a good time, and we still wanted to go to dinner somewhere, so we actually left and went to dinner and back to the hotel. But just because we'd already been, this was our 5th visit, right? So like at this point we had, it's not like we hadn't been there before. I will say I would have maybe stuck around a little longer if the water rides were open.
Yeah.
Because in October the water rides are usually open, but then in November through March, I think they're closed. So the Rapids ride, which I didn't necessarily need to ride, nor the Shoot to Shoot, but then Rio Bravo, they're kind of like 2-seater log ride. Their flume ride that goes to like the Wild West with a big drop at the end, and it's like backwards airtime hill drop. That I would have actually not mind to ride, but it was closed. So it is what it is. Next time, we'll be back maybe in the summer or something.
So after that we went back to work. And then our next theme park excursion outside of our usual Florida escapades was our annual Disneyland Paris November visit, which we always give ourselves like 4 days now because we just love being there. And
we always stay at the same hotel that's like 1 metro stop away in Val d'Europe, which is like has groceries nearby, and the metro station is literally like a 3-minute walk from our room. So we just get into our like cute outfits that we pack, and then we walk to the metro, and there's always one running, especially in the morning, like every 3 to 7 minutes. And then we jump on the RERA, and then we just hop off. Literally 3 minutes later, we hop off. We walk up, and as soon as you walk up the escalators, you turn around, and you're at the extra security at the park. Like, it is so convenient. It is literally quicker than even staying on resort.
Yeah.
But staying on resort is cute and stuff. But I kind of got lost in that like Marriott Bonvoy loyalty program game, and now like, all I do is stay at Marriott hotels and get like mad benefits out of it. We always get a free upgrade there, so it's like I don't know, we always stay at the Moxie in Val d'Europe.
Someday, when we're no longer living in Orlando and we decide to stay on resort at Disney World, we will be
at Coronado.
Staying. Oh, you want to stay at Coronado?
Yeah, at Gran Destino. Yeah.
We don't get Bonvoy points for staying at
Oh,
the
true.
Coronado.
I guess we could stay as Swan Dolphin.
There
Swando.
we could stay at the Cove.
Anyway, so we usually try to nowadays do like 3.5 days. So usually we arrive on the same day, and then we sleep for like half the day, and then we go at night, and then we do like some night rides, and we do dinner, and then we do like a night show, and then we go back. But this time around, I arrived a day earlier because I had some paperwork I needed to get done. So I just took like an office day in Paris, and then waited for Alex to show up the next morning. Then we slept for a couple hours and went out to Disneyland Paris. Met up with Diary of a Coaster Girl and Charlotte and Martin for a little bit. And then we went and had dinner at Waltz, or like a late lunch. That turned into dinner because it took like 2 hours. And it was fine because we wanted to see the Christmas parade we had like a little cute window at Waltz in Main Street, which Waltz is like on the second floor of the Main Street buildings. And then we were able to see the whole Christmas parade come by, which was always fun. And then we had our espresso and cookie after the dinner and whatnot. And then we did a grand circle on the park. We actually did not even go to Walt Disney Studios this visit or this particular day, which usually I think we hit both parks every day of our visits. But in this particular visit, we rode Phantom Manor. We rode Big Thunder Mountain in the dark, which was running phenomenal. And then what else did we do the first day? I think we may have done Pirates the first day, but then Indy the first day.
Phantom Manor, Indy, and Big Thunder.
And then we wanted to go to Hyperspace, but in Hyperspace was down, which was fine because we wanted to see the show. So we went to see the drone show. And then surprisingly enough, I was like, why didn't we not get the Christmas scene? I was all bummed. But also we were kind of looking at it, we're like, this doesn't feel like the show we saw a few months ago. Like what is... the themes are similar, but we're missing elements. And then we realized that we actually saw one of the very first performances of the new bad weather drone show. Because the drones go about 180 meters up in the air. And 180 meters is like, what is it, like close to 500 to 600 foot. It's quite tall, like maybe 550. So the drones go really high up, but as soon as there's too much wind or there's like weather in the area, they cannot really do the drone shows because they're just too massive. So now they have a version that goes up to 80 meters, which 80 meters is about 250 feet. So now if you want to ride, if you want to watch the show, and you may get a B mode version. It's just a different version of the show, that has a very similar lineup of events and projection mapping, except for the scenes are all adjusted to be smaller or like different characters. Or different kinds of ways of portraying the same franchise, and it was actually kind of enjoyable. And then, but it doesn't have the Christmas scene in it yet, so I don't know if they've designed one for it, or if they're not going to. Only as of right now, only the full-sized, 180 meter tall drone show has the Christmas aspect of it. But anyway, it didn't matter. We watched the show, we watched the illuminations, and then we took a train back to the hotel, and. But then one thing I've noticed recently on the RER is that, which is the local train system for Paris, and Disneyland Paris is on the A line, is that they've been making a lot of announcements about pickpocketers. And I mean, it is crazy. And you could there was clearly a little pickpocket operation going on right in front of our own eyes. And like the train was slammed because of course the park had closed and all the people watching the nighttime shows were all on the same trains. When I tell you, I've never seen the RER trains this packed in my entire time going to Disneyland Paris, which we go entirely too often. I was like, okay. And then these announcements were being made in like every possible language, including like Chinese and Japanese. And then we see it unfold in our own eyes where like they're tag teaming these these freaking people trying to steal their shit and getting off the next stop and jumping on. I mean, I was like, oh my god, like this. If you're not aware, the pickpocketing in some of these European cities these days is like awful. And Paris is no exception. But I've never seen it like that, even out in the Disneyland Paris area. But now, I mean, I witnessed it myself. And these announcements really made me even more hyper-aware. I kind of try to always have zipper pockets these days when I go to, like, places like Rome, Barcelona, Paris. But, it was kind of funny seeing that. Yeah. That was the only time we saw it, though. But that was because we actually went with the masses at the end of Park Day. I mean, it was so crowded in there. It's easy to pickpocket in there now. Yeah. But other than that, we didn't have any full trains because we always kind of tried to not be on the full trains leaving at night. We try to either leave before then or like between the drone show and the fireworks show. We try to like dip out.
For us, it's not difficult.
We try to play. We're usually pretty strategic about that.
When the new nighttime show comes, we'll obviously then our next Disneyland Paris visit.
Yeah, that's in January. Maybe we should do
another. It was nice seeing Illuminations again. It's not my favorite castle show, but it's a good castle show, and it's better than Disney Dreams. And that's only because Disney Dreams is just really old. So we saw Disney Dreams again during the 30th anniversary, and then now Illuminations is back, and then they will have the new night show, and that's going to be spectacular. So
yeah, it's going to be drones and fireworks together for the first time.
And projection mapping in Main Street, USA.
Yeah, it's going to be big.
It's going to be the best. Basically, it's going to be like the most spectacular castle show in history.
And then the next morning, we were thinking of rope dropping, but we ended up just sleeping in a little bit longer because we had a pretty successful first evening. We got one of our nice dinners out of the way. We got 4 major e-tickets out of the way. We got the firework and the drone show out of the way. So we felt pretty good about it all, and we had 3 more, in theory, days to work with. So then we went to the park, maybe right at open. I mean, we still weren't that late, but usually we try to do early admission because we have our annual passes. We have gold passes. It includes an hour early admission to both parks. So we usually try to beat the crowd, beat it early, with a croissant and espresso in our hands, walk into the gates and just kind of,
I love our little routine.
Our little...
take the RER over, and then we go to the little convenience store that's right in between.
Yeah, the Monopoly.
And I get a blueberry Red Bull, and you get espresso, and we get a chocolate croissant, or in some cases just an entire loaf of bread because they're even cheaper.
Yeah,
we get a whole ass baguette for less than
tear a piece of bread as we walk through the park.
And it's just so
it's very European.
It's so hilariously French. It's almost comical, caricaturish. But I love it. I love that tradition.
But yeah, then this morning we actually went to the Studios Park first. Did we not? Or did we go straight to the main gate? I can't remember the second day.
I don't think we... Well, no, we did go to Studios the first thing, and Crush was down.
Oh, yeah, that was...
Oh, no, that was day 3. Sorry, that was the next day. No, we didn't go to Studios. We did Studios, rope drop.
But did we go to... we didn't rope drop either of the parks. This is really great, guys.
Yeah.
We didn't rope drop either of the parks the second day. Did we go into the main park right away? Yeah, we did because we needed to get a hyperspace.
Yeah.
We hadn't done hyperspace.
We went straight to Hyperspace Mountain.
So yeah, we went straight to hyperspace, and we rode that a couple times, and it was running pretty well, actually, better than our visit in March. In March, there was a whole scene that wasn't working. It was the scene during the Sidewinder. That was working this time. And a phenomenal ride as always. And they're doing construction on the coaster.
Lots of construction.
They're adding an extra maintenance track on it. And they're revitalizing the entire exterior of the building. There is a strong rumor that for the 30th anniversary of the ride, which at this point is going to be in, what is the year? Is it 1996? 1995. So maybe next year, if we're lucky, they haven't announced anything yet, but if we're lucky, maybe next spring or something, maybe for the 30th anniversary of the roller coaster, we can expect to see the Return of the Moon. My dream would be Space Mountain Mission Discovery or Mission Discovery, and then that would be a really cute shout out to Discovery Mountain, to Discovery Land, the original concepts, and it without sound Mission 3, Back to the Moon, whatever. I just want it to be...
This is Mission 4.
Oh, Mission 4, I mean, sorry, yeah. So I would really like for it to be Mission Discovery, and I just made that up, and I hope that's okay. Yeah. But anyway, we rode that a couple times. It was running great. We never had to wait long for this trip, because our first night we were there, I will say, one of the reasons we didn't go straight out to the park, or we napped a little bit longer on our half day, is because it was a French bank holiday, and it was very, very, very busy. I mean, I'm talking an hour line for most rides.
Yeah.
2 hours for Crush, 2 hours for Tower, and we're oof, we don't really want to deal with that. And then the next 3 days, the next 2 days after that, it was quiet at the park. It was really quiet. So we rode a lot of things, including Hyperspace Mountain a couple times. We what else did we do that day? We rode pretty much everything at that park, including. Did we ride Small World that day or Small World the last day?
Small World was down.
Oh, we rode the refresh...
the Pas de Conte de Fée.
Yeah, we rode that, which has new Frozen scenes, it has a new Up scene, and it has a new...
Winnie the Pooh
scene.
Yeah.
So that was cute.
And then, of course, the Casey Jr. ride also got a little refresh. So that little neighborhood, that little annex behind the majority of Fantasyland is looking wonderful these days.
And then we did lunch at Silver Spur, which we always like. Silver Spur is
Silver Spur.
If you ever need availability for restaurants last minute, Silver Spur is probably the only one you can still get a week off at Disneyland Paris. So Silver Spur...
And it's so good. It's not
it's just a large capacity restaurant.
Yeah, it's just a very, very high capacity restaurant. Every time we're there, it's busy.
We rode Big Thunder a couple times. We rode the Riverboat that day.
Lots of Big Thunder rides. Riverboat is wonderful as always.
Yeah. We didn't actually do a nighttime show that evening. Because go ahead.
Yeah, that night we didn't. But then we found out, actually, from Charlotte and Martin, they were the ones that explained to us that they were now doing this low wind, or a low height, high wind version of the show, and that if we tried the show again, we would catch it, hopefully on a low wind day, and we would get to see the Christmas version
which we did
of the drone
later,
show, which we did later.
But yeah, on this day, we actually wanted to prioritize. So we rode Big Thunder, like Alex said a couple times, was running really well.
Running excellent.
Very smooth. The fog
Fast.
effects,
Running
the fake fire fog effects in the final lift are working, the splashdowns working, everything was working, which is great. Even though it's going to go down early next year for an extended refurb again, this ride just requires a lot more maintenance because the weather is so rough and the ride itself is a lot more intense than all the other Big Thunders. It runs a lot faster. You know, you go underground onto an island. It's 4 lift tilts. It's like by far the biggest, best.
It is a colossal.
Best Alexander Big Thunder Mountain.
Sean and I, it's
best Thunder Mountain.
It's contentious because Disneyland's, the OG Big Thunder Mountain is still technically like my favorite. I won't argue that it's better. I don't think that it's a better ride than Paris's. I just love Anaheim's. And who knows, the next time we go to Anaheim and we ride that one, maybe I'll decide that I like the Paris one better.
Anyway, so we rode the best Thunder Mountain a couple times. And then we went over next door, which is to the Walt Disney Studios Park, which is currently under mega construction. I mean, I'm talking, this is somehow the most construction work that's ever been going on at that park because they're turning it into Disney Adventure World next year, or 2026 at this point. Which by the time you're listening to this, maybe next year. No, anyway, 2026, they're turning it into Disney Adventure World, and the park is pretty much almost doubling in size. Like, it is going to be so much more massive than it is now. And so, but
once the Lion King expansion is done, it really will have grown by like 100%.
So, but right now you just have the Adventure Campus, you have the Walt Disney Studios area, like Studio One area, and then you have Toon Studio and Worlds of Pixar. That's kind of all there is to it right now. And then when it reopens, we'll probably do an episode on all the future Walt Disney Studio stuff. But not now. Anyway, so it's a lot of construction walls. But the good news is you can really kind of see, because the construction walls move every few weeks, you can really see where they've already updated the paths and where they're adding the trees and where this and that's happening. So when we got in there that evening, we were kind of like, oh my god, it's kind of chaotic. So we just rode Flight Force, and then we went over to Crush. Now, Flight Force was running actually kind of slower than the last couple times we went, which is okay because it always ran so fast. We're like, I can't believe it's running so fast. But it was still good. I still enjoy Flight Force. It's just, I don't know. I enjoy Flight Force still more than Rock and Roller Coaster here. But usually I'm really into Flight Force. This trip, I was like excited to ride it a couple times, but I wasn't as like
this trip. I think so. Indiana Jones has done the same thing. Indiana Jones normally runs at like balls out high speed.
Oh yeah, we hadn't mentioned that yet. Yeah.
I noticed with both Avengers Assemble Flight Force and Indiana Jones The Temple of Peril, I feel like both of these are like two of the most intense, probably the most intense
Disney roller coaster out there.
Disney roller coaster experiences,
along with Hyperspace.
When in terms, but like Hyperspace doesn't hurt, and like, and I'm not saying that Indy and Avengers Assemble like hurt me in a way that is a problem, but like with Hyperspace, because it has the hydraulic restraints, like it's a much more comfortable like experience. It's like very palatable to the average Disney person, and then you have these other two coasters with the standard shoulder restraints, and a lot of people complain about how aggressive they are and like the head banging aspect of riding both of those rides. But on this trip, we felt like both of the rides had been slowed down a bit. Probably helps with making them feel more palatable to the the average like Disney park consumer. But for us, we kind of miss like the balls out insane versions of these respective rides. Like Flight Force, I feel like it just launches a bit slower, and you can tell because when you hit the mid-course, like when you finally hit the brakes, it just doesn't feel like as dramatic of a slowdown. And same story with Indy. The first mid-course brake run on Indy used to be you would just roll right through it and continue along, and then you'd hit the loop, and like that was always like this crazy, super high positive G-force moment in the helix, and then you would, on that third set of mid-course brakes, you would just slam into it. And now, the first brake stops you almost, well, it brings you almost completely to a stop. And then you roll out, and the ride is still great. I think it's actually, honestly, even though I prefer the rides the like more insane way, I just think this is a smarter way to run these rides in terms of like pleasing the crowds and also for maintenance purposes. Like,
well, yeah, either you're slamming the brakes earlier or slamming the brakes later, because that one mid-course part of the ride where you have a brake that's next to the queue, you used to slam into it so hard. I think it runs better now.
It probably, I mean, and that the airtime on that was crazy. Like, I can distinctly recall riding it and like having the camera bag with me, and like the camera bag was like just like flying, like levitating off the ground. But yeah, it's just spreading the maintenance, spreading the brake usage of the ride around instead of having one mid-course brake run do all of the work is probably just a lot smarter from a maintenance budget. And if you don't have the coaster like absolutely tearing it up on the corners and stuff, like you're going to have less. Sorry,
that's the car outside doing a whole noise thing.
But yeah, just like keeping a more moderate speed throughout the whole layout instead of having sections that are going faster than they probably should is just going to help with the long-term maintenance life of the ride. So it was a little disappointing, but then I was like, no, this is smart. Like, this is what they need to be doing. And I know that like a ride like Indiana Jones especially like struggles with its own reputation of being too aggressive and being painful and like knocking you around, and slowing the ride down to like a more reasonable speed will help with that a lot.
And then I will say that as far as Flight Force goes, it was always running so fast that it was like, it's still running fast, much faster than a Rock and Roller Coaster or Express. But it's a little bit slower now to the point where the scenes are actually aligned with the train now. I think maybe that's why I did it, because there was a problem at one point where we always asked for front row on Flight Force because we just think it's a front row ride.
The forces in the front.
And then also just the visuals of the scenes and stuff.
But we'd outrun the scene every time.
But every single time we ride it, we'd go so fast, we'd outrun the scene. So by the time that we would go and be like at the bottom of the butterfly roll, we would have, like the time that Captain Marvel would shoot up at you, we were already past that. And then, the time that you see all the missiles inbound, or like, we're supposed to fly side by side with Captain Marvel and Iron Man. Captain Marvel and Iron Man would be like at car 6, even though car 1 through 5 couldn't see. Yeah. Because we blow through it so fast that we would miss all the actual scenes. And now, at least, I will say, we rode row 1 maybe like 4 times this visit, and every single time we rode it, we were right aligned with Captain Marvel, and every single scene. I mean, I actually kind of enjoyed that more because I really felt that, and I think I was telling you that while we were riding this time around, is that I really noticed the scenes much more, and that it felt like it was timed better. So, I mean, at least it looks like they've been fixing things, even though we like the apeshitness of maybe rides running too fast. Yeah. It all makes sense, and it is for the best. Let's just put it that way.
It's just the right choice, even though it's not our preferred personal choice.
And then after we rode Flight Force that evening, we rode Crush, which Crush was down to like a 30-minute wait, and we actually got on in like 20 minutes. It was really quick and easy. We rode Crush, and we still got out before the parks closed, so we were able to catch a train before it got busy, which is nice. But yeah, Crush was running great. Crush is one of those super underrated roller coasters in the Disney lexicon where, I mean, it's just like a fun ride. Like, it's one of those like Paris exclusives that I think kind of make Paris stand out a little bit. Like, it's a really fun ride. I'm surprised they haven't done it on a larger scale in another park. Yeah. But I'm happy that it's just for Paris.
You know what we recently learned is that Indiana Jones originally, an original concept for Indiana Jones was for them to have 2 identical installations of the coaster sharing one large like infield queue. And it kind of makes sense when you think about like the sheer size of the queue setup for the ride relative to the actual ride itself. It's a very sprawling queue, and it kind of feels like it just kind of wanders off into the scrub and then finds its way back. And I didn't really think about it, but it was like, yeah, I guess you could have really used, for all of that queue space, you could have had 2 rides. And, it would be like this double ruin thing, sort of like dueling, well, not dueling, but it would have just had a different kind of presence and vibe, and it would have fit just right where the back perimeter of the queue against the underdeveloped parts of Adventureland finish. But Finding Nemo, the Crush's coaster was also designed, also conceptualized with a second track. We've probably talked about this before. Unlike Indiana Jones, which frankly, by the time Space Mountain opened, there was no need for Indiana Jones to have a second track. At least not after they... Well, I guess with Space Mountain, it distracted people from that ride quite a bit. And then when they did the remodel where they expanded the train length, from 8 passengers to 12. That helped a lot too. They were able to like retrofit Indiana Jones to accommodate the capacity instead of like, since the budget cuts, did away with the second track. With Finding Nemo, unfortunately, there's not a day that they couldn't have made use of a second like exact copy of this ride for capacity reasons. But the ride is so good that I feel like another park that has higher attendance could just build 2 of them, like how Paris originally planned. And that would be adequate for capacity. It'd be a great ride. And you wouldn't have to worry about it being like a 2-hour wait. I think it's such a solid ride. It's so underrated. And it mostly just gets a lot of flack for, quote unquote, poor capacity. When actually, the capacity's not bad.
It's not bad.
It's just really popular.
It's the highest capacity spinning coaster in the world that isn't like
a train.
I'm talking that isn't Guardians. Because even for individual vehicles, there's no way that Rides of Happiness nor any spinner really are like pushing out trains fast enough. Maybe Euromir, if you count that, but it's also I don't know. Yeah. If I'm talking free spinning, I guess Euromir has a quick section of that. Does it?
No.
See,
it's
so
totally
like
programmed.
Anyway, for like a spinning coaster, it's great
a proper
capacity.
Spinning coaster.
Great capacity.
It really because when you stand in the station for a while and watch it, like if you do single rider, which is usually a shorter wait,
but we time it at 20 seconds.
You stand in there for a long time,
good.
And you get to watch the process keep going. And it's like 20 seconds between dispatches. It's a very impressive operation. It wouldn't work in America just because loading and unloading that ride is kind of hectic, and it's not like if they needed to.
It requires like 4 people for one car.
They would never
equal staff to riders.
It's the continuous loading nature of the ride. It's almost like an omnimover. Whereas for roller coaster experiences and stuff like this, Disney likes to have ADA stations, like separate loading and unloading for a ride that has continuous loading stations, and it just wouldn't work. Like it just wouldn't. But I don't know. I wish like Hong Kong Disneyland should have this, right?
This would be a good fit for Hong Kong.
Fit for Hong Kong Disney.
I wanted to stay unique to TLP.
But that's also true. I think as Walt Disney Studios / Disney Adventure World, as it comes into its own with the new Frozen area and with Lion King, and I think like as that park finally sheds the sad stepbrother persona and blossoms into a proper full-day theme park experience, people will come to appreciate Crush's Coaster more for what it is, especially if, as the new rides keep coming, the capacity, like the lines for Crush's Coaster, neutralize a little bit. I don't know if there will ever be a period of time where like Crush's Coaster will ever have like a consistent 30 or 40 minute wait because it's just too popular. I think on any given day that there's people in the park, it will be an hour wait or so. But I just hope people appreciate the ride for what it is as the park starts to gain more traction with the expansions and stuff.
It will be nice though because right now it just really carries.
It really carries.
It's like so popular. I think it's so much more popular than people realize that people really love this roller coaster.
Yeah.
And so do we. And I think it became this culture where, like, with early admission, everyone runs to Crush. But the funny, which leads me into tomorrow, in just a second, but or the day after visit. But hopefully with the giant expansion and having Frozen at the very end of that, and the giant lake and the new restaurants and the small Tangled ride and then eventually Lion King, it'll relieve enough pressure where Crush capacity is adequate to popularity.
Perfect.
I'm expecting that to be a thing. But anyway, so because Crush is so popular, we either ride it right before close, or we rope drop it with our early admission. So the next day we came and we did early admission at Walt Disney Studios, which we tend to do that 2 a day and out of our visits and 1 day at the main park, just so we can get Crush in. So we get there, and of course, because everyone always goes to Crush first, but Crush was down, they had, I kid you not, they had the entire walkway to Crush lined up with cast members saying Crush is closed, Crush is closed, Crush is closed. Which is great, because everyone needed to know that Crush is closed, because everyone will go to Crush first. And so for us, we went to Tower first instead, which had our Tower of Terror. We had these embroidered jackets now that we got at Disneyland Paris, so we wore those for our day there, and we took some photos and stuff. So we rode Tower of Terror first during early admission, and we rode Flight Force, and then we rode Ratatouille, and we rode Cars, and then right as the park opened, actually, we waited to do the parachute tower, which the parachute tower is part of Toy Story Land. It's like the Toy Soldier parachute tower, and it gets the best views of the expansion because it's kind of on the expansion pathway. And it's going to be new entrance to Toy Story Land right next to the parachute ride. So we rode it, and we got bench number 1, which has officially
seat.
The best seats in the house. So you lift up above, the land, and then
you're really above,
and
the
then
new,
you view above the Tangled
expansion.
Ride. And so then you view right to Frozen, and you can see how massive this new part of the park is going to be. Like, again, the park is about doubling in size. And Frozen here, despite only having the major dark ride, it doesn't have the roller coaster like Hong Kong. It is a much larger area. And that's also because one of the waterways that runs through the Frozen land in Walt Disney Studios / Disney Adventure World in Paris is going to be the way for the showboats for the nighttime show to come in and out. So like the whole area is just needs to be much larger, and there's going to be a giant meet and greet in the castle, as where the castle in Hong Kong is just for show. The castle in
Tokyo is a restaurant.
And Tokyo is a restaurant, but the castle in Paris is going to be an actual meet and greet experience, which it's going to be good because they need to relieve a little bit of the pressure of the Princess Pavilion.
I'm so excited for the scope of the Frozen Land. Even though I wish that now that we've ridden the Paris, or now that we've ridden the Tokyo version of Frozen, I wish that was what Paris was getting. But I get it. Like I get that was developed exclusively for Tokyo and is a OLC contractual exclusive. But I love the Hong Kong one too, nonetheless. The Hong Kong one has a better drop, and that's what Paris is getting, and I think people will be into that. And they're building the giant Lion King flume next to it, which is going to be like the super e-ticket. Like, I don't even think of the Frozen ride as being an e-ticket, just because at Epcot it was never an e-ticket when it was Trolls themed, and now it's Epcot's, bread and butter, or I guess it was before like the 50th anniversary stuff. That was really like the thing at Epcot, but it's still always kind of this small scale ride. It was just super popular and carrying a lot of weight because it's Frozen. In Disneyland Paris, it's still for me just gonna feel like it's not gonna be on the same caliber as like Pirates of the Caribbean or Haunted Mansion. Maybe Small World, I would say, is kind of like the level of like substance that ride has. But then with the Lion King flume next door, that's going to be like this Parks, Pirates of the Caribbean, Haunted Mansion caliber dark ride experience. And but nevertheless, I'm just so glad that the Frozen area has such a massive presence to it. I mean, you can see it. You can be outside of the park, right? Where were we standing where we could, see Elsa's castle and the mountain and stuff, and we were way far away.
I think we were in a cab on the way back, and we were driving by, and we were like, oh my god, it is so massive.
It was so far away from us.
We were driving.
We were in Disney Village, and, could see.
Well, not just that. I think really realistically, we were on the way in the car. Remember when they closed the train because of a threat, and so we took a car back and we drove right by it. And we're like, oh my god, it's so.
Well, yeah, we were behind. That was a cool ride actually. Taking a cab from, so our hotel that we stay at in Val-d'Europe is actually only a half-hour walk to the Disney resorts,
and that's a normal people pace. So maybe 20 for me.
Yeah, at gay speed, it's easily 25 minutes. So I think when we do a summer-spring visit to Disneyland Paris, we'll make a point of walking there.
Because when you walk to the park, you have to walk. You walk behind Disney Adventure World,
particularly the Lion King side of the expansion.
And so you see Frozen how massive it is. And when we drove by it, we could really notice how massive it was. It's incredible. I'm so excited for it. It really. I think for the first time, because we've seen Frozen under construction for 2-3 years now. We ride the parachute tower every couple of months just so we can see what's going on. But now that they've added the mountain and the castle and the rooftops and the this and the that and all the walkways around Lagoon are getting these covered areas for the show viewing, because everything in Paris is covered because of the weather, which is great.
And they're doing this whole Art Nouveau thing.
Yeah, and the Frozen ride, it's on the Frozen ride. The Tangled ride in the pavilion is under construction, and then you see the new restaurant, and you see all the way where Cars is, which is way out there, but it's still nowhere near Frozen. Today, or on that day that we're talking about right now, I think it really for me came together as all right, now I understand the scope. Now I understand where everything is located. Now I think I can really appreciate how massive this is, because we've been to Hong Kong a couple times, and for us, Frozen's really cool in Hong Kong, really cool, but it's not all that. It's not that big. You got your restaurant, you got your ice cream shop, you got your souvenir shop, and you got your
just
two rides.
right for Hong Kong. It's perfect for Hong Kong, for what Hong Kong needs. And I think the Paris one is actually really perfect for what Paris needs.
Because Paris needs like something really massive. Especially that park needs like a massive land, all the lands are kind of small. Right now, the biggest land by far is Adventure Campus.
Yeah.
And now I guess they've turned Worlds of Pixar into one land, which is Toy Story Land. It's like 3 mini lands in one. You got your little mini Cars land. You have your four mini lands in one. You got your mini Cars land. You have your Toy Story Land. You have your little Parisian little Ratatouille land
neighborhood,
and then you have your kind of like mismatch. Pixar stuff like Crush and Cars and like the photo ops in one.
I know, this makes me think of Sven when I think about this, because Sven hates that there's 2 Cars rides, but they're not next to each other.
Yeah, one is
because one, was not planned. One was added when the first Cars movie was in theaters, and one was added well after Cars 3.
But anyway, so for me, Worlds of Pixar works. I think it's really clever. I've seen them all to have the same uniforms. But anyway, that's a whole different story.
Yeah, so every time we ride Crush, we always think about they have the Toon Studio outfits.
Because it used to be part of Toon Studios, but now it's officially part of Worlds of Pixar, which makes sense because every single thing between Cars Road Trip and the Cars Not Road Trip
and Rally Racers is all Pixar.
And it's really cool, and I think it's so clever. It's like my dream half of a park that's just Pixar. I mean, people don't talk about this enough. World of Pixar really is. I mean, if you count the total amount of rides, you have 1, 2, 3, 4,
you have 6
5, 6, 7.
What's the 7th?
So you get Cars.
You have Racer Rally, Crush.
The 3 Toy Story Land rides.
3 Toy Story Land rides,
and then,
Ratatouille,
and Cars.
And Road Trip. Yeah, you're right.
So you get 7 rides. 7. You get 7 rides, and they're all part of one giant area with little sub-neighborhoods, and I think it's really, really clever. And for World of Adventure, doing Adventure Campus, a giant Hollywood garden party / the entrance to Hollywood, World of Pixar, World of Frozen, World of Pride Lands.
Yeah.
I think the idea is there. Bay. Yeah, and Adventure Bay. I mean, the idea is there, and I really am looking forward to this because now it all makes sense. I think this was a premature move, making a World of Pixar, but it all makes sense.
Premature or preemptive?
Preemptive, not premature. Preemptive.
Okay. Well, it's a little premature considering that they still have Toon Studio outfits for Crush.
Slowly but surely. I'm sure they're waiting for the name of the name change, because why invest in all these new uniforms now when the park is going to be renamed in a year?
And back in the day, it made sense, because they had the live action side of the park and the cartoon section of the park.
Yeah.
And that was when the Aladdin magic carpets.
It's funny because I just scrolled through some photos. I was walking through that the backlot corridor with Motor whatever show,
Lights
and you
Motor.
had Rock and Roller Coaster and Armageddon, and there was that one other thing they had there. What is it called again? There was 3 attractions there.
Well, those were the 3 attractions. It was Rock and Roller Coaster, the Armageddon stunt special effects spectacular, and the Lights Motors action show.
For some reason I thought it was something else I looked at yesterday.
And then, they had part of the studio tour back there, too.
But anyway, it's kind of funny how much has changed. The park has already gotten such a glow-up despite being a construction zone.
At the time, when they added Crush and Cars Racer Rally, that was a nice little stimulus for the park. It was their first real proper expansion following the opening of the park, and it really fleshed out that Toon Studios corner with the Aladdin Magic Carpet Ride, the Art of Animation exhibit, and the Animagic show. But now, Animagic Theater, which is now Mickey and the Magician, and the Aladdin Magic Carpets are retconned as just, that's all that Animation Courtyard is right now, because the Art of Animation feature experience is closed. And according to the maps and stuff, there's not really a divide, because the Magic Carpets and Crush and Cars were supposed to always be part of the same area. But there's now a little invisible divide where Animation Courtyard technically ends between Magic Carpets and Crush and Racer Rally. And then from there onward, the Ratatouille expansion and the Toy Story Playland expansion and Cars Road Trip have all been... and I actually kind of like this whole idea of a super big area that has lots of little neighborhoods, especially in this era of themed areas of parks that have 1, maybe 2 rides. It's kind of cool, even though the area wasn't originally conceived this way and it's full of a bunch of converging themes in a way. if you call it one area, you say all the Pixar rides are part of one area. You've got 7 rides in one area, which is more than like hardly any Disney area since like Fantasyland.
Yeah, it's good. And it works. So the neighborhoods are just the right size.
Yeah.
I kind of like these small little lands that they've done for Paris because the capacity wasn't needed. I mean, the attendance for that park has always been so low. And even now the attendance will increase, I think, because the park size increases so significantly. It'll still kind of work as these small neighborhoods, but they're just going to be marketed like a bigger one. I think it's all working out quite well. I've never been a big hater of this park. I will say pre-Adventure Campus,
this park. Yeah.
It was a particularly hot mess.
Yeah.
Because when Adventure Campus was under construction, it was like, well, what is there to do?
They lost so much of their capacity.
There's nothing to do. But now, especially now that all the rides that have been there are open, and then they had the new Spider-Man ride, now they're building a significant infrastructure and new attractions. I look forward to the future a lot.
Yeah, me too.
And so the next day, the day that we showed up and Crush was closed, we just did all the other rides around the park. And
we killed it on this day. We rode so many rides. It was our only day that we didn't have a restaurant reservation.
And it kind of worked out.
And the lines were short. Like,
Very
I'm talking
short.
like 15 minutes for Space Mountain.
Yeah.
20 minutes for Big Thunder.
And then we did our usual. We did like a glühwein and pretzels.
Yeah.
And then we did champagne on Main Street, and we watched the drone show that we had the Christmas version.
Yeah, our second watch of the drone show was the fair weather version that had... It was cool getting to see both and seeing the comparison between not just the height of it, because when we were watching the first one, it didn't occur to me that the drones were much lower. It had just been so long since we had seen Electrical Sky Parade. But then seeing the regular version right after and seeing all the drones that are like well above the height of the castle.
I mean, it was really nice to appreciate how high they are then.
Yeah.
Because I never really thought about how tall they are until I saw the numbers. And then I saw the low and the high version. Yeah.
The drone shows that they're doing in Florida these days, like Universal's drone show and the Disney Springs drone show, those are all very low.
Yeah.
Especially compared to Paris's. So I'd kind of forgotten.
Yeah, Paris really is spectacular.
And the Christmas bits that they added to the Sky Parade are wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, the could you guys not like the Electrical Sky Parade is so spectacular with projection mapping and the fountains and the fireworks attached to the drones.
The music.
It is just like a total hype fest. Like, I could watch it every night of my life.
I could watch it forever.
I love it.
And the Christmas version delivers.
Speaking of stuff we'd always watch forever, we completely forgot to mention that we watched Pride.
We saw Rhythms of the Pride Lands.
On our first full day, so our second day at the resort, which is the Lion King musical-esque show that is just so spectacular and so well done, so refined for you need a refined palate for it, but it's
it's definitely not Festival of the Lion King.
It's so good. I mean, I cannot wait to see. I mean, the show's been there forever, and it's not going anywhere.
For Disneyland Paris.
Even on empty days, that show fills up every single show.
I'm so happy that they got the Lion King flume, because I beseech you to find me a resort that loves the Lion King.
I mean, half the merch of the resort is Lion King. They got the Lion King restaurant.
Yeah, they have the Lion King buffet, like character dining buffet, right? Isn't it like a...
No, it's just a regular kind of service.
So they have the Hakuna Matata restaurant in Adventureland. They'll do like character meet and greets with like Rafiki.
Yeah, like they used to have it's an outdoor patio with like these little huts where they used to have tables, and now it just turned into like this meet and greet. Just like, almost like a super tiny little Lion King world in there. And they have this Lion King spirit jerseys. I mean, they love Lion King.
Yeah, the Hakuna Matata spirit jerseys and the Lion King spirit jerseys are a big deal there. And then, they've got the best Lion King show. It's literally like a Broadway level
it's so
performance that they put on
I want to cry almost every time I watch it. It's that good.
It's truly, and it's just the perfect thing for Paris because it's an indoor show.
Paris has the best shows, period, though.
The best.
We have to mention this, and I think all people that know Disney parks agree with this, is that Disneyland Paris's shows are just out of this world. I mean, it's like, honestly, I would say that even if you combine all the other resorts together, the DLP show lineup is still better. Because then they also have the nighttime spectaculars, which includes 2 different kinds of drone shows. Now 2 different kinds of the same one at the main park. But you also have a major Adventure Campus one, and they rotate at Studios, which is really impressive, using Tower of Terror.
Avengers Ignite the Night with the Tower of Terror as the focal point still blows my mind.
And then you have the regular nighttime show that's Illuminations that's really good. They're going to get replaced with another show.
Their parades are fun. The processionals are great. Obviously, Dream and Shine Brighter was
their Adventure Campus just introduced a new show. They have that BMX show that's in just during
the Alice in Wonderland,
the good season. And then they have those crazy Broadway shows. So they have the Frozen show, which is now in recession, but Recess, I mean. And then they have Mickey the Magician, which is a staple, spectacular quality.
Yeah.
I mean, Broadway level. And then you have the Pixar Show, Broadway level.
Oh my God! Together,
have, like,
a Pixar adventure.
You have Dream Factory. You've got Mickey Minnie's, whatever the hell. I mean, there's so many shows.
The Minnie's show. There's Stitch Live.
And Europeans love it. You'll have people waiting for, like, there'll be like 6-7 showings of Mickey the Magician in a day, right? And every single show will have like an hour queue.
Yeah.
I mean, like, the only things you can pay, like, you can pay upgrades for, like with a MasterCard only, whatever, it's like a MasterCard exclusive, is the shows there. I mean, I just love a park that respects shows that much, and that resort is just like so show heavy. And it's the only shows I actually really care for too. I mean, I feel like Universal Studios Hollywood used to be like the show park for me, because like Waterworld's spectacular and it used to have special effects and the animal actors and this, that, and the other. But now it's all kind of gone down to
Waterworld.
Waterworld, and I feel like Paris, of all the parks in the whole world, not counting maybe animal parks to do animal shows, but even SeaWorld shows not that anymore. I think it's by far the best show park in the world.
Yeah.
Like show resort in the world.
Yeah, show resort.
You have to consider it.
It's the one conversation where, like, Park Disneyland wins every accolade in the context of the two parks, except that when it comes to shows, stage shows, the parks are evenly matched. It's the one area where both parks are equally strong. Really, because I think Studios has always been a show-heavy park. It was really conceptualized as a show park. It opened with 3 stage shows, which is...
And even in the Walt Disney Studios expansion, they're holding on to that, because if you look at it, both the Pixar Show and Mickey the Magician, they have very prominent features on the artwork, on the concepts of the new Walt Disney Studios
And then this
park.
is to say nothing of Cinemagique, which was just a wonderful, wonderful show that opened with the resort in the Discoveryland Theater before moving to the Cinemagique dedicated theater in Disney Studios, which is now home to Together, a Pixar adventure. I really hope that Cinemagique comes back at some point, because that show is too good to be lost media. Like, it is so excellent. And I think
people, like, if you hear stuff like, oh, Together, a Pixar musical, you think like that sounds kind of cheesy, but the way that everything is done in Paris, it's like, it's art of the art. Like, it is the state of the art, and not just like technologically, but also just like classically. I mean, you have entire orchestras in these shows. Live orchestras doing the entire thing, where there's all these musicians, and the singing and the dancing is all live, and it's just it's just so refined. It makes everything about Disney World seem like practically a flat cartoon placed to your face. I mean, it's just it's hard to describe.
Yeah, it makes stuff like the Finding Nemo show and shit like the Beauty and the Beast shows just seem like they weren't trying very hard, or that they're not worried.
But of course, if you're going to look at like classical art and music and performance, I mean, Paris is one of the historical hubs of that. It comes through every single moment, any bit of entertainment.
The fact that this is the Paris resort, and Paris is one of the true, like, historically has always been one of the biggest champions of the fine arts. It's just no surprise that it turned out this way. And people love to shit on Walt Disney Studios for its ride lineup, which is it's understandable. It's understandable, we get it. But if you're going to take into account like the 3, 4, 5 major shows they have, and then include maybe the drone show, I mean, you can spend a lot of time at that park without realizing it. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I'm like, the tit for tat Studios always is the butt of the joke, except for shows. Because that is the show park, and it will always be a great show experience. And now they're getting their Lagoon show. Like, there's always going to be show experiences. New restaurants. Oh, it's going to be so spectacular. It's going to be great. Wait. I am so excited.
Yeah. But we'll do a full episode on what we can expect from Walt Disney Studios maybe this season, because I'm actually quite excited to talk about that in more detail. But for now, we're going to hang this up because we're already over an hour. Time flies when you're having fun at DLP. And we're about to hit Animal Kingdom. So that is this for this episode. We just launched a bunch of new episodes, so make sure that wherever you're listening, go back or go ahead and head to Spotify or Apple Podcasts, subscribe to the podcast. And we just did our 100th episode anniversary 2-part episode with Ian and Sven. That's out there, 4 hours of listening entertainment for you. We just launched Xi'an Amusement Parks and Monuments. We went to Xi'an, China. We did a couple of cool parks there. There's still a park that's building a new Zaxbyun, believe it or not. It also has a Jinma flying coaster. Everything is possible in Xi'an. And we went to Tokyo. We talked a little bit about the Tokyo parks, whether or not they're underrated or overrated. Listen to that one. We're very passionate about it. And then we also talked about our visits to Hong Kong Ocean Park and to Hyperia, Thorpe Park. We did all that. And now we have this episode, Parque Parc, or Parque Park. All really cute. And then now we are going to have some more episodes coming before the end of the season. Wherever you're listening, leave us a review. We appreciate you. Leave a comment on Spotify if you are listening there. And we'll catch you guys on another episode real soon. Bye.
Bye.